Landon Road third grade, it's time to glaze our pop art pie tiles upon which we've already drawn in pencil. When we get ready to glaze, which is the fancy ceramics word for paint, I want you to notice this right off the bat. You're going to want to stir your glaze. If you had a grown-up, pick up your glaze from here at the Lantern Road lobby, and you're going to want to do that with all the colors. Glaze colors do not look today like they will when they are fired, or baked is the term we use, fired for baking, in the future. So you've got to have some imagination when you paint or glaze your tile. You also need to understand that these colors have been sitting, waiting for you to pick up. And when they sit, they settle. The color sort of is heavier than the water it's mixed in, and the color is weighty and weights all the way down to the bottom and sinks. So you will want to watch me stir the glazes I have for my painting sample, and you're going to want to listen well to how I point out different color mixing options for you. It gets a bit tricky only because these don't look the way you want them to until I've baked them or fired them in the kiln or oven. So let me get my camera view changed. And in doing so, you're going to see what looks like a big old mess at first. And you might see my nose pop into the camera frame. I'm going to try to make sure my tile is pretty close to my 2 sets of paint. You're going to want a very small brush or a couple of them if you don't want to just keep cleaning out your brush. You're going to want some water handy, and you're going to want some craft sticks to stir your paint, or maybe plastic spoons. I use the handle instead of the spoon part. But when you open your glaze, you're going to find that some of the colors do not look like very good colors at all. I'm really hoping you can see this one primarily. This is red that has settled. And I'm going to stir and stir and stir and stir, and it's going to become a pretty dark looking pink. It's not going to look real red like a brand new red shiny car, but it's definitely not going to look almost clear and white like it did at first. I'm sure you can see the difference on the screen. You're going to want to mix all your colors. It looks like my blues separated pretty badly too. And if you're making a blueberry pie, you clearly want, pardon me, let's scoot this a bit. Nope, you can't see it on that camera shot. I'm going to keep moving it. There we go. This had separated out to where it looked like a bit of blue sitting in some water. And you definitely want to mix and mix. So no, these colors do not look the way that they will when they are glazed and then baked or fired. I did have 2 sets out. I want to show you part of this set. These are colors I mixed that are very light. A lot of people did not want brown for their pie crust. They wanted tan. If you are going to mix lighter colors, please remember you must start with white. So you'll use a plastic spoon or a craft stick and spoon a little bit of white into one of your empty compartments. And then whatever color you wish to lighten, like brown into tan, you'll put a drop of brown into the white. It's the same concept as mixing white cake icing with some food coloring. You don't put the white in the color, you put the color in the white. Please don't try it the opposite way. Add drops of color to white. Don't try to add white to a color. It will not mix as well, and it likely won't work at all. So I'm going to move these lighter colors I mixed to this direction so that you can see the tan that I have right there. I'm going to make sure my tile's back in view. And I'm going to remember this as I work as well. My pencil lines will not stay. When I fire these, they're going to burn away. The oven or kiln is the appropriate term, is 2,000 degrees when I fire these. So as you can imagine, very few things last through 2,000 degrees of heat, except for ceramic clay and ceramic glaze. So if you want a pencil line to show up at the end, you are going to have to paint it before you say this is finished. If you are working from home, this is definitely a 2, maybe even 3 art visit painting project. So I'm going to make my cheesecake chocolate, but because I know to paint light and let it dry, and then paint my dark colors, I'm starting with tan. This is some tan I mixed by making a little cup almost full of white, and I added drops of brown until it looked light tan. If you really want color to show up bold, you're gonna wanna do 2 or 3 coats of it. So I'm painting my pie crust. It's pretty much the lightest part of my chocolate cream pie that also has some chocolatey sauce on it. I may change that to strawberry sauce. I think I'm changing my mind as I work. So when I'm ready to change colors, because I'm almost finished painting tan, I don't have very much tan to paint. Always make sure you're wiping your brush off on the edge of the paint cup you're using. Don't ever tap your brush like a drumstick. That'll send glaze flying, and it'll land in your eyes or in your hair or on your dog. Probably don't want that. So there's my light tan. I don't think the next light color I'm using is tan. I think I'm done with tan. So I'm gonna give my brush a little swish around the water cup, and I'm gonna paint it against paper towel till it's pretty dry. You should never dry your brush by pulling on the bristles. You can actually pull them out. So my next light color is going to be yellow. I'm gonna use a light yellow, and I'm gonna use my brush to mix it around because I already had my brush in it. And I'm gonna make my plate light yellow. Oops, I got out of line a little bit because I'm trying to go a bit too fast. I should slow down, but I'm trying to make this video short because you guys are, after all, 3rd graders. You are almost my oldest students in the building, as you are almost 4th graders, since this is the end of the school year. So I'm trusting you to paint well with the knowledge I've included in this video and with the knowledge you have from being in my class for quite a while. So with that said, I'm finishing up my yellow plate, and I'm gonna go back when my yellow's dry and my flowers and kind of squiggly line decoration on my plate. I'm gonna paint those. They're gonna be darker than yellow. And this is not just yellow, this is light yellow, because I started with a cup of white and dropped some yellow into this to make it very light. So I'm gonna move my light colors because I'm ready to move on to some darker colors. I have lighter icing or sauce on my chocolate cream pie. Sorry, I forgot what kind of pie I intended to make this. So I am gonna use red. Even though red's pretty dark, it's lighter than my dark chocolate brown. And I'm gonna go ahead and paint my red sauce, and I will paint my dark chocolate brown after I'm done painting the sauce. Sauce will probably be dry. Something you're gonna find out quickly, leopard artists, these tiles upon which you are glazing, they are thirsty. Don't worry about a lot of dry time between light, medium, and dark colors. You do need to let them dry. If you just can't wait, grab a hairdryer with your grown-up's permission, put it on the low setting, and dry it with a hairdryer. However, you want to make sure that you put that away, just like anything else, if you have babies, kitties, or doggies around. You folks working at home, I don't want your pets and your siblings injured by some of your art equipment, even if it's not standard art equipment like a hairdryer. These tiles are so thirsty. The scientific name for that is porous. They are so porous, they pretty much drink up your glaze and dry it right before your eyes. So as you can see, I'm working now with a medium color. I've done my lightest colors. I'm gonna work with my medium color, and then I'll move on to dark last. Have you also noticed, leopards, I am not painting wet glaze on top of other wet glaze. It's gonna blend, and it's probably not gonna blend well unless you really know what you're doing. And if that's the case, and you really know how to blend colors expertly, then you would already know that you blend them in the paint cups, not on the project.
So don't paint wet on top of wet. Let it dry first. And I think you can probably tell, leopards, the reason we paint light, medium, then dark, letting each type dry in between, is because mistakes made with light paint or glaze can be covered and hidden with dark glaze. That's why we use dark last, so we can cover up, camouflage, and hide any of our mistakes with light or medium glaze. So with this almost done, my raspberry sauce is almost done as far as the dripping down the side portion. I still need to paint up here, but I didn't paint that part of the glaze yet because my pie crust was still getting dry. It's dry enough to paint next to it now. And I do have to paint around my chocolate chips. And I'm gonna let this red dry before I paint any chocolate, because that brown is dark. I think you can see, leopards, how this, painted by you, not by me in a video who has lots of experience, painted by you, should definitely take 1 or 2, possibly even 3 art class times. So if you are working from home, no, you should not sit down and in one art time paint your whole slice of pie. Please, please remember as you paint, if you want it to stay, you have to paint it that way. That rhyme is simple, but it's very important. Pencil lines will not stay. They will burn off in the 2,000-degree kiln. I'm gonna give my brush another swish to get rid of that red, and I'm gonna paint it against some paper towel until it's pretty dry. I'm gonna switch to my dark brown. I'm gonna give it a little stir because I did forget to grab a stir stick for it. And I'm gonna start painting the chocolate cream part of my pie. This dripping down sauce should be pretty dry now, and my pie crust should be pretty dry too. I painted it first. So dark comes last. If any of your glaze seems thick, add a drop of water, mix it in. If it's not better, add another drop. Mix it in till it's about what you would like. Remember, these are going to look much different when fired. So the red that I gave you, and of course your paints are in rainbow order because that's how we mix our paint. That's why orange lives between red and yellow, because we use red and yellow to make orange. So of course your paints are in rainbow order with black, brown, and pink, I believe. My sets that I have here at Lantern Road are just a touch different than the ones I prepared for those of you working at home. Now, artists, once you are done glazing and you've considered going over any pencil lines that you want to stay in your design so they don't burn off, when it is completely glazed, you need to return it to Lantern Road for me to bake, the appropriate term is fire, in my kiln. You cannot bake these at home unless you have a grown-up in the house who has a ceramics studio and has their own kiln. Therefore, your grown-ups are going to need to bring it back. I will let you know when it is ready for pickup with a personal email, because some leopards may not get their project complete. Some leopards may want to bring it back to me next school year to have me fire it then, because they have a challenge with their grown-ups picking up and dropping off during our hours. And I understand that. Just make sure when you're done glazing, you submit a photo of your work so that you get credit for the work you've done. I certainly don't want you to not get credit if you're only waiting for me to fire it next year when you're a 4th grader. And hopefully, I will see you in person then. So artists, I'm not going to extend the video any longer for you to watch me finish painting. I wanted to make sure you saw how to paint light, medium to dark, and then how to make sure you mix these if they separate, and also how to clean your brush at your own workspace. Leopards, of course you need to clean up your mess when you're finished, And of course, you should clean your brushes well. And if you are very certain you are done with the glaze, you will need to throw it away. There is no way for you to return this to me and then for me to return this to the jars it came from. You will simply have to throw it out. You also can't use it on other projects. It simply won't work and won't paint well. It's not intended for use on paper. It's only intended for use on first fire or bisque fire clay. If you have questions, of course, message me, but feel free to review and go back through this video anytime you want to pause it, rewind it, fast forward, stop it, so that you could get the information you need to do your personal best. Good luck, leopards, and I hope to see these when you're finished glazing so that I can fire them all the way through to the finish.